The glass shattered inward as Jake Morrison's fist drove through the cockpit window. Water rushed in black and freezing, swallowing everything. The woman inside wasn't moving. Blood streaked her face. He had 30 seconds before the jet sank completely, taking her with it. His 8-year-old son was screaming from the shore, but Jake couldn't stop. His hands found her collar, yanked hard, pulled her limp body toward the surface. What Jake didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that saving Catherine Sterling's life would destroy everything he'd built to protect his son. The men he'd betrayed weren't dead, and they were coming for Connor. Drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The morning Connor Morrison asked his dad if heaven had fishing. Jake should have known something was coming. They were sitting in Jake's beat-up aluminum boat on Clearwater Lake, Montana, lines in the water. The kind of silence between them that only fathers and sons understand. 3 years since cancer took Connor's mom. 3 years of Jake trying to be enough for both of them while carrying secrets heavy enough to drown a man. "Why are you asking about heaven, buddy?" Jake kept his voice light, but his hands tightened on his coffee mug. Connor shrugged, 8 years old, and already too aware that life took things away. "Just wondering if Mom can see us, if she knows we're okay." Jake's throat closed up. Yeah, I think she knows." "You think she's proud of you?" The question hit like a punch. Jake looked at his son. Michelle's eyes, Michelle's stubborn chin, Michelle's goodness, and wondered what the hell she'd think of the man he used to be. The things he'd done. The people he'd... "I hope so," Jake managed. "I'm trying, Con, every day." Connor nodded, satisfied, and turned back to his bobber floating on the glassy water. Kid had no idea his father was a ghost. That Jake Morrison carpenter and single dad didn't exist 10 years ago. That the man who tucked him in at night used to kill people for money in countries that didn't show up on maps. That's when the sound came. A scream. Mechanical. Wrong. Jake's head snapped up, every nerve firing training he'd spent a decade burying roaring back to life. A private jet, small, expensive, spiraling through the Montana sky half a mile up. One engine trailing black smoke. The other on fire. "Dad!" Connor's voice went thin with fear. Jake's brain calculated trajectory, wind speed, impact point. Muscle memory from a life he'd murdered and buried. The jet was coming down fast. Nose angled wrong. Pilot fighting it. Losing. "Stay in the boat." Jake grabbed Connor's shoulders, looked him dead in the eye. "I need you to stay right here. Call 911. Don't move. You understand me?" "What are you?" The jet hit the water 300 yards out. The sound was apocalyptic. Metal tearing itself apart. Glass exploding. A geyser of water shooting 50 feet into the air, hanging there like God himself was holding his breath. Jake kicked off his boots, stripped his jacket. Connor was yelling something, but Jake couldn't hear it over the roar in his ears. The old familiar weight of adrenaline, the certainty that someone was dying, and maybe, just maybe, saving one life could balance the scales of all the ones he'd taken. He dove. The water hit like a fist wrapped in ice. Montana Lake in September. Cold enough to stop a heart. Jake's lungs screamed, but he kept swimming, arms cutting through water legs, kicking hard. The jet was sinking fast. Cockpit already half-submerged tail section pointing at the sky like a drowning man's last desperate hand. Through the spider-webbed glass, Jake saw her. A woman. 40s. Dark hair floating in the rising water. Blood on her temple. Eyes closed. Not moving. Jake dove under, grabbed the door handle. Locked. Jammed. He surfaced, sucked air, dove again. This time he didn't try the handle. He drove his elbow into the glass. Pain exploded up his arm, but the window gave cracks, spreading like lightning. Another hit. The glass shattered inward. Water rushed in, trying to equalize, trying to fill the space and drag everything down. Jake fought it, reached through, grabbed fabric, expensive fabric, silk or something, and pulled. The woman was dead weight, heavy, unresponsive. He got his arm around her chest, kicked off the sinking fuselage, pulled them both toward the surface. His lungs were burning. Vision tunneling. Arms concrete. The surface was right there, but his body was shutting down hypothermia, trying to drag him under with air. They broke through together. Jake gasped water streaming from his mouth and kicked toward shore. One-armed, the woman's head above water, her face pale as death. No breath sounds. Nothing. "Dad! Dad!" Connor's voice cut through the fog. Jake's knees hit gravel. Hands, small hands. His son's hands grabbing his shirt, helping pull him onto the beach. Jake dragged the woman clear of the water, rolled her onto her back. No pulse. Jake's hands moved on instinct. 2 fingers on her sternum. 30 compressions. Hard. Fast. Feeling ribs flex under his palms. Tilt her head back. Pinch her nose. 2 breaths. Her chest rose. Fell. Nothing. "Come on," Jake growled. "Come on, don't you dare!" Again. 30 compressions. He could see Connor in his peripheral vision, frozen, terrified, watching his father try to punch life back into a stranger. 2 breaths. The woman convulsed. Water poured from her mouth, dark and thick. She coughed, gagged, gasped. Her eyes flew open, sharp green, intelligent, even in shock, and locked onto Jake's face. "You..." Her voice was wrecked, barely a whisper. "You pulled me out." "Don't talk. Paramedics are coming." Jake could hear sirens, now distant but getting closer. Her hand shot out, grabbed his wrist. Grip surprisingly strong for someone who'd just drowned. "Your name. I need your name." "Jake. Jake Morrison." "Catherine Sterling." She coughed again, water still draining from her lungs. "I owe you my life." That's when Jake saw it. The Patek Philippe watch. Diamond earrings that probably cost more than his truck. The tailored suit soaked and ruined, but clearly custom. This wasn't just money. This was real money. The kind that came with questions, attention, media. His stomach dropped. "Paramedics are here," he said, already backing toward the boat. "You're gonna be fine." "Wait." But Jake was moving, pulling Connor toward the boat, firing up the outboard motor that coughed and sputtered before catching. Behind them, EMTs were running down the beach, and behind them, no, news vans, 2 of them. Cameras swinging toward the beach, toward the woman, toward Jake. "Dad, what are you doing?" Connor asked as Jake opened the throttle. "We gotta go, buddy." "But that lady, she's gonna be fine." Jake steered them toward the opposite shore, away from the cameras, away from the questions, away from everything that would tear their life apart if the wrong people saw his face on the news. Because saving Catherine Sterling's life was the right thing to do. It was also the worst mistake Jake Morrison had made in 10 years. The story hit the news within 2 hours. Jake sat in his living room, Connor upstairs taking a hot shower. His own hands still shaking from adrenaline come-down and hypothermia. He'd turned on the TV to check the weather. Instead, he got CNN. Catherine Sterling's face filled the screen. Hospital bed, bandage on her temple, looking remarkably composed for someone who'd been dead 90 minutes ago. "I'm alive because of a stranger," she was saying, voice strong, authoritative. CEO voice. "A man whose name I barely got before he disappeared. Jake Morrison. If you're watching this, I need you to know, I need the world to know what you did today. You risked your life to save mine. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to repay that debt." Jake's blood went cold. The reporter's voice cut in. "Catherine Sterling, CEO of Sterling Industries, one of the 50 wealthiest women in America, is asking the public's help in locating her rescuer. Morrison is described as..." Jake shut it off. His phone was already buzzing. Text from his foreman at the construction site. "Dude, that you on the news." Another from the woman at Connor's school. Jake Morrison. The hero. That's you." Jake deleted them without responding. Stood up. Started pacing. His cabin in the woods suddenly felt exposed. Glass windows facing the road. One entrance, one exit. Defensible, sure, but only if you were defending against one or two people. Not against everyone who'd see that news story. Not against the thought hit him like a sledgehammer. Marcus Reeves. If Marcus was still alive and Jake had spent 10 years praying he wasn't, he'd just watched that news story. He'd just seen Jake's face, Jake's name, Jake's location, and Marcus would be coming. Jake's hands were moving before his brain caught up muscle memory from another life. He went to his bedroom, pulled the dresser away from the wall, popped the false panel he'd installed years ago. Inside a Glock 19, 2 spare mags, a prepaid phone, and a flash drive in a waterproof case. The flash drive contained everything: names, dates, mission logs, bank transfers, video footage from helmet cams. Every war crime Titan Solutions had committed over 15 years, every civilian they'd murdered in the name of corporate interests and government contracts. Jake had stolen it the night he walked away. The night he'd lowered his rifle instead of executing a village elder, whose only crime was refusing to give up his land to an oil company. Marcus Reeves, his commanding officer, had given the order directly. "Take the shot, Morrison." Jake had looked through his scope at the old man. Unarmed, surrounded by his family, kids, grandkids, just trying to protect the only thing he had. "Negative," Jake had said into his comm. "That's an order." "Then court-martial me. I'm not doing it." He'd walked off the position, gone straight to Marcus's tent, and stolen every piece of evidence he could find. By dawn, he was on a plane to the States with a newborn son Michelle had given birth 2 days earlier and a death sentence hanging over his head. Titan Solutions didn't forgive betrayal. They didn't forget. Jake had spent 10 years as a ghost moving from town to town until Michelle got sick and he couldn't run anymore. He'd picked Montana because it was remote. Because he could see trouble coming from miles away. Because maybe, just maybe, Marcus had stopped looking. That hope just died on national television. "Dad?" Jake spun. Connor stood in the doorway, hair wet from the shower, wearing his Spider-Man pajamas, looking at the gun in Jake's hand. "Hey, buddy." Jake forced his voice steady, lowered the weapon. "Just checking something." "Why do you have a gun?" "For protection. You know that." "From what?" "From the men I used to work with. From the company that trained me to kill. From my past. From everything I thought I'd left behind." "Just in case," Jake said. "Come on, let's get you to bed." Connor didn't move. His eyes, Michelle's eyes, stayed locked on Jake's face. "That lady on TV, she said you're a hero." "I just did what anyone would do." "But you looked scared. When we were leaving, you looked scared." Jake crossed the room, crouched down to Connor's level, put his hands on his son's shoulders. "I'm not scared. I'm careful. There's a difference." "Are bad people coming?" The question knocked the air from Jake's lungs. Connor was 8. He shouldn't have to ask that. Shouldn't have to worry about bad people coming for his dad. But Michelle was gone, and Jake was all he had, and lying to him now felt worse than any truth. "I don't know," Jake said honestly. "But if they do, I'll handle it. You're safe. I promise you're safe." Connor nodded slowly. "Like you saved that lady." "Yeah, like that." "Can I sleep in your room tonight?" Jake pulled him into a hug, breathed in the smell of his kid's shampoo, tried to memorize the weight of him. "Yeah, buddy. Yeah, you can sleep in my room." They watched a movie. Something animated with talking animals. Connor fell asleep halfway through, curled against Jake's side. Jake stayed awake, gun within reach, listening to every sound outside. Wind in the trees, deer moving through the underbrush, the distant hum of traffic on the highway 5 miles away. At 2:17 a.m., headlights swept across his living room window. Jake's hand moved to the Glock. He eased Connor onto the couch, grabbed a blanket to cover him, positioned himself where he had clear sightlines to the door and Connor behind him. The car stopped. Engine cut off. Door opened. Footsteps on gravel. 3 slow knocks. "Jake Morrison?" The voice was smooth, friendly, familiar. "I know you're in there. I know your son's asleep on the couch. You've got about 60 seconds before I make a phone call, and every asset Titan Solutions has knows exactly where you live." Jake's jaw clenched. He knew that voice, had heard it in his nightmares for 10 years. Marcus Reeves. Jake opened the door. Marcus stood on his porch alone, wearing an expensive suit like he'd just stepped out of a boardroom. 55 now, silver in his hair, lines around his eyes. Still looked like he could kill someone with his bare hands without breaking a sweat. "You look good," Marcus said. "Civilian life suits you. Boy's name is Connor Wright, 8 years old. Smart kid. Reads above his grade level. Loves Spider-Man. You've done a good job with him, Jake. Really. Considering you're doing it alone." Jake's hand tightened on the gun behind the door. "If you touch him, I'm not here to hurt your son." Marcus's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I'm here to offer you a choice. You still have the files. The ones you stole 10 years ago. Everything that would turn Titan Solutions into a congressional hearing and me into a federal prisoner. I want them back." "No. Let me finish." Marcus pulled out his phone, held it up. Photo of Connor's school. Time stamped 3 hours ago. "I know where he goes, when he goes, who picks him up. His teacher's name is Mrs. Patterson. His best friend is Tyler Chen. He's allergic to peanuts. Last week he got in trouble for talking during quiet time." Jake's vision narrowed to a pinpoint, blood roaring in his ears. "You have 72 hours, Marcus continued. "Deliver the files to a location I'll text you. In exchange, I walk away. Your son grows up safe. You build your decks or whatever the hell it is you do now. We pretend the last 10 years never happened." "And if I refuse?" Marcus pocketed his phone. "Then Connor disappears. Not permanently, just long enough to convince you I'm serious. Maybe he comes back missing a finger. Maybe he doesn't come back at all. Your choice, Jake. You've got 72 hours." He turned, walked back to his car, paused with his hand on the door handle, looked back. "You were always the best operator I had," Marcus said. "Shame you grew a conscience. Made you weak." The car pulled away, taillights disappearing into the dark. Jake stood on his porch, gun in hand, shaking with rage and terror. 72 hours. 3 days to figure out how to save his son from a man who'd just proven he'd never stopped hunting. Behind him, Connor stirred on the couch. "Dad!" Jake forced himself to breathe, to push the fury down, to become the father Connor needed instead of the killer Marcus remembered. "Right here, buddy. Go back to sleep." But sleep wasn't coming. Not for Jake. Not tonight. Not until he figured out how to kill a ghost. Jake didn't sleep. By the time dawn broke over the mountains, he'd made 3 decisions. He wasn't giving Marcus the files. He wasn't running. And he was calling Catherine Sterling. He hated needing help. Hated it with every fiber of his being. But Marcus had made it clear this wasn't a fight Jake could win alone. Not anymore. Not with Connor's life on the line. He waited until 6 a.m., until Connor was still asleep in his room, before he pulled out the business card Catherine's assistant had somehow tracked him down to deliver yesterday. Her private number handwritten on expensive cardstock. He dialed. She picked up on the first ring. "Jake Morrison." Not a question, a statement, like she'd been waiting for his call. "I need your help," Jake said. The words tasted like ash in his mouth. "Where are you?" "My cabin. Listen, the man who came here last night, he's dangerous in ways you can't imagine. So if you're smart, you hang up right now and forget you ever met me." "I'm not smart," Catherine said without hesitation. "I'm stubborn, and I told you I owe you my life. That means something to me. I'm coming. Don't leave. Don't do anything until I get there." She hung up before he could argue. Jake made coffee, strong, black, the kind that could strip paint. His hands were steady now, the initial panic burned away, leaving only cold calculation. Marcus wanted the files. That meant Jake had leverage. The question was how to use it without getting Connor killed in the process. Connor wandered into the kitchen at 7:30, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Who were you talking to?" "Friend. She's coming to visit." "The lady from the lake?" "Yeah." Connor climbed onto a bar stool, watched Jake pour orange juice. "She's rich, right? Like really rich." "Money doesn't matter, Con. But she could help us if we needed help." Jake set the juice down, looked at his son, 8 years old and already reading between the lines, already sensing something was wrong. "Why would we need help?" Connor shrugged, but his eyes stayed on Jake's face. "You had the gun out last night, and someone came to the door. I heard you talking. You were supposed to be asleep." "I was scared." The simple honesty of it broke something in Jake's chest. "I know, buddy. I'm sorry. But everything's gonna be okay. I promise." Mom used to say that, before she got sick. Jake had no answer for that. Michelle had promised too. Promised she'd beat it. Promised she'd see Connor grow up. Promised they'd grow old together. Cancer didn't care about promises. "This is different," Jake said. "How?" "Because I'm not sick, and nobody's gonna hurt us. I won't let them." Connor nodded. Wanted to believe it. Jake could see the effort it took. "When's your friend getting here?" "Soon." Catherine Sterling arrived at 9 in an armored SUV that probably cost more than Jake's cabin. She stepped out wearing tactical pants boots and a jacket that had Kevlar woven into every seam. Her hair was pulled back. No makeup. The bandage on her temple was smaller now, but the bruising had darkened to deep purple. She walked straight to Jake's door and knocked. He opened it. She looked past him at Connor sitting on the couch, then back to Jake. "Can we talk privately?" Jake called over his shoulder. "Con, go play in your room for a bit." "But..." "Now, buddy." Connor went dragging his feet, looking back every few steps. When his door closed, Catherine stepped inside. "Tell me everything," she said. So Jake did. He told her about Titan Solutions, about the missions in countries that didn't exist on maps, about the things they did to keep oil flowing and governments stable. He told her about the village elder, about stealing the files, about running for 10 years with a target on his back. And he told her about Marcus Reeves, about the threat, about the 72 hours that were now 63 hours and counting. Catherine listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "You're not giving him the files," she said finally. "No. If I do, he kills me and takes Connor anyway. Those files are the only leverage I have." "Then we need a different plan." Catherine pulled out her phone. "I have resources, security teams, legal firepower. We can..." "He'll find us," Jake cut in. "Marcus has contacts everywhere. Intelligence agencies, criminal networks. Running just delays the inevitable." "Then what's your play?" Jake looked toward Connor's closed door. "I go after Marcus first, take the fight to him before he can take my son." "That's suicide." "Maybe, but it's better than waiting for him to come here." Catherine's eyes hardened. "And what happens to Connor while you're on your suicide mission?" "That's why I called you. I need you to take him. Keep him safe while I handle this. You've got security resources, places Marcus can't touch." "I'll do better than that," Catherine said. "I'll help you. This isn't your fight. You saved my life. I told you I owe you. This is how I pay that debt." Catherine leaned forward. "You think I built Sterling Industries by being nice? I've gone to war with hedge funds, survived hostile takeovers, dealt with corporate espionage that would make your mercenary work look like child's play. I know how to fight dirty. And I know people. People who can help us." Jake studied her face, looking for the angle, the self-interest. Found none. Just iron determination and something else. Something that looked like she'd been waiting her whole life for a fight that mattered. "Okay," he said. "But first thing, we get Connor somewhere safe." "I've already made calls. I have a security team ready to meet us at a private airstrip 2 hours from here. They'll take Connor to my estate in California. 24-hour protection. Ex-military. The best. And then we bring in someone I trust. FBI. Someone who specializes in domestic terrorism. If Titan Solutions is operating on U.S. soil with the kind of evidence you have, we can turn this from your private war into a federal investigation. Jake's gut twisted. FBI means questions. They'll want Marcus more than they want you. You have files that prove Titan committed war crimes. That makes you a whistleblower, not a criminal. We play this right, you walk away clean. You don't know what's on those files. Then show me. Jake hesitated, then went to his bedroom, pulled the flash drive from its hiding place, came back and handed it to Catherine. Don't copy it. Don't show anyone until I say so. This is my insurance policy. My only one. Catherine turned the drive over in her hands. What's on here that scares you so much? Everything. Names of people Marcus killed, dates, locations, video footage of executions, bank transfers showing which governments paid for which hits. If this gets out, it doesn't just destroy Titan Solutions. It destroys everyone connected to them. Politicians, CEOs, generals, people with the power to make us disappear. Then we make sure the right people see it at the right time. Catherine pocketed the drive. We move fast. We move smart. And we don't give Marcus a chance to regroup. Agreed. Jake nodded. Agreed. But Catherine, if anything happens to me, nothing's going to happen to you. If it does, you make sure Connor's taken care of. Make sure he knows I love him. That everything I did was to keep him safe. Catherine's expression softened. You're going to tell him yourself. Promise me. I promise. They moved within the hour. Jake packed Connor's bag, while Catherine made more calls, her voice sharp and commanding, coordinating logistics like a general preparing for war. Connor sensed the urgency, stayed quiet, didn't ask questions until they were loading into Catherine's SUV. Where are we going? Somewhere safe, Jake said, buckling him in. Are you coming? Not right away, but I'll come get you. Soon, I promise. Connor's eyes filled with tears. I don't want to go without you. Jake crouched down outside the open door, took his son's hands. I know, buddy, I know. But remember what I told you about keeping you safe. This is how I do that. Miss Sterling's friends are going to take you somewhere really nice, like a vacation, and I'm going to handle some grown-up stuff, and then I'm coming to get you, okay? What kind of grown-up stuff? Boring stuff. Trust me, you don't want to be there. Is it because of the man who came last night? Jake's throat tightened. Yeah. Is he a bad man? Yes. Are you going to stop him? I'm going to try. Connor was quiet for a moment, then he leaned forward and wrapped his arms around Jake's neck, held on tight. Don't let him hurt you, Dad. Please don't let him hurt you. Jake hugged back, probably too hard, trying to memorize the feeling. I won't. I love you, kiddo. Don't forget that. I love you too. The drive to the airstrip took 90 minutes. Catherine drove. Jake sat in the passenger seat watching the mountains roll past, trying not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. Connor sat in back quiet, clutching his backpack. The airstrip was private small, just a runway and a hangar. A Gulfstream was waiting, engines already running. 4 men in suits stood at the base of the stairs. Ex-military Jake could tell from the way they carried themselves. Alert. Professional. Dangerous. They're mine, Catherine said, pulling up beside the plane. Personal security. Best in the business. Connor will be safe with them. Jake got out, opened the back door. Connor climbed out slowly, looking at the plane, the men, the whole situation that was too big for an 8-year-old to process. One of the security men approached. Early 40s. Buzz cut. Scar on his jaw. Mr. Morrison, I'm Davis. We'll take good care of your son. Jake looked at him. If anything happens to him, Nothing will happen to him. You have my word. Jake nodded, turned to Connor, crouched down one more time. You remember what I said? You're coming to get me. That's right. And until I do, you listen to these guys, okay? They're the good guys. Connor nodded, tears streaming down his face now. Okay. Be brave, buddy. Can you be brave for me? I'll try. That's all I need. Davis stepped forward, offered his hand to Connor. Come on, son. You ever been on a private jet before? It's pretty cool. We've got snacks, movies, whatever you want. Connor took his hand, let himself be led toward the stairs. He looked back once, waved. Jake waved back, stood there watching, until his son disappeared inside the plane. Until the door closed. Until the engines roared, and the jet taxied down the runway and lifted into the sky. Catherine's hand touched his shoulder. He'll be safe. Jake watched the jet become a speck against the clouds, then vanish entirely. He better be, because if Marcus gets to him, I'll burn Titan Solutions to the ground and everyone in it. Then let's make sure that doesn't happen. Catherine pulled out her phone. I'm calling my contact at the FBI. Her name is Agent Sarah Chen, Harvard Law, specialized in domestic terrorism for 15 years. If anyone can help us build a case against Marcus, it's her. How well do you know her? We were roommates. She's one of 3 people in this world I trust completely. That's 2 more than I have. Catherine dialed, put it on speaker. It rang twice. Catherine Sterling, it's been too long. The voice was warm, professional, with an edge that said this woman didn't waste time on pleasantries. Sarah, I need your help. It's urgent. Always is with you. What's the situation? Domestic mercenary company, war crimes, witness intimidation, threats against a child. I'm sending you a dossier within the hour. Can you clear your schedule? There was a pause. How solid is your witness? Catherine looked at Jake. He nodded. Rock solid, Catherine said. But he's in danger. We need federal protection, and we need it fast. Where are you? Montana. We can be wherever you need us to be. Seattle. I'll meet you at the field office in 6 hours. Don't talk to anyone else. Don't use your regular phones. And Catherine, if this is what it sounds like, you're walking into a shitstorm. I've weathered worse. Bring your witness, and tell him to bring everything he has. If we're going after a PMC, we need ammunition. The call ended. Catherine turned to Jake. 6 hours. That gives us time to prep. I need you to walk me through everything on that flash drive. Every name, every mission, every detail you remember. When we sit down with Sarah, I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. They drove to a hotel outside Missoula. Catherine paid cash, got a suite on the top floor with sight lines in every direction. Jake swept the room for bugs, checked the locks, positioned chairs where he could see both doors. Old habits. Catherine ordered room service. Sandwiches neither of them touched. Coffee they both drank too much of. Then she pulled out a laptop, plugged in the flash drive, and they went through everything. The files were damning. 15 years of operations. Civilian casualties listed as collateral damage. Executions disguised as combat kills. Bribes to local officials. Payoffs to senators. Shell companies funneling money to offshore accounts. And video. Helmet cam footage Jake had tried to forget. Villages burning. People running. Marcus's voice in his ear, calm and cold, giving orders that violated every law of war. Catherine watched it all without flinching. When it was done, she closed the laptop and looked at Jake. How did you live with this? I didn't. That's why I left. Why didn't you go to the authorities then? Because I had a newborn son and a wife dying of cancer. Because I didn't know who I could trust. Because Marcus made it clear that if I talked, everyone I loved would die. And now Connor's the only person I have left to lose. And I'm not letting that happen. Catherine stood, walked to the window, looked out at the parking lot below. When we meet with Sarah, she's going to ask you to testify. Go on record. Put your name and face out there permanently. I know. Marcus will come after you with everything he has. I know that too. So why do it? Jake thought about Connor's question that morning, about whether he'd stop the bad man, about promises he'd made to his son, about the life he wanted Connor to have free from fear, free from running. Because hiding didn't work, Jake said. Because running didn't work. Because the only way Connor gets a real life is if I end this. Permanently. Catherine turned back to him. Then let's end it. They arrived in Seattle at 4 in the afternoon. Catherine's driver took them straight to the FBI field office, a concrete fortress downtown. Agent Sarah Chen met them in the lobby. Mid-40s, sharp suit, eyes that missed nothing. Catherine. She hugged her briefly, then turned to Jake. You must be Morrison. I've been reading your preliminary file for the last 3 hours. If half of what Catherine sent me is accurate, you're the most valuable witness to walk into this building in a decade. Or the most wanted, Jake said. That too. Come on. Conference room secure. She led them through security, up an elevator, down a hallway, to a room with no windows and walls thick enough to stop sound. 3 other agents waited inside. Sarah introduced them. Forensic accountant, military law specialist, tech analyst. Sit, Sarah said. Talk. Tell me everything. So Jake did. For the 3rd time that day, he laid out his history with Titan Solutions, Marcus's operations, the village elder, the files, the threat against Connor. Sarah and her team listened, took notes, asked pointed questions that made it clear they knew exactly what they were dealing with. When Jake finished, Sarah leaned back in her chair. You understand what you're asking for here? Full federal protection means witness testimony, depositions, trial. Your face will be everywhere. Every enemy you made in Titan Solutions will know where to find you. I understand. And you're willing to do that? For my son, yeah, I'm willing. Sarah nodded slowly. Then here's what we do. We use your files to open an investigation, get warrants, freeze Titan's assets, bring in Marcus and his command staff. But that takes time. Judges, bureaucracy, time you don't have. So what's the play? Catherine asked. We force Marcus's hand, make him think Jake's delivering the files, set up a controlled exchange. When Marcus shows, we take him down, get him in custody alive, and use his testimony to roll up the rest of the organization. Jake shook his head. Marcus won't come alone. He'll send contractors, shooters. He's not stupid. Neither are we, Sarah said. We'll have hostage rescue team on site, snipers, breach teams, overwhelming force. You go in wired hand over a fake drive, keep him talking long enough for us to get into position. Think you can do that? Jake thought about Connor, about his son's face in the plane window, about promises he'd made. Yeah, he said. I can do that. Good. When does he expect the exchange? Jake checked his phone. He said he'd text me the location. I've got... His phone buzzed. Everyone in the room went silent. Jake looked at the screen. Unknown number. Message read, Pier 9, Warehouse, Seattle. Midnight tonight. Come alone. No cops, no backup, or the boy dies screaming. Jake showed the text to Sarah. Her jaw tightened. That's aggressive. He knows you're with us. How? He's got resources. Watchers at the airstrip maybe, or he's tracking your phone. Catherine swore softly. Connor's fine, Sarah said quickly. If Marcus wanted him, he'd already have made his move. This is about leverage, about scaring Jake into complying. But it tells us something important. Marcus is desperate. He wouldn't push the timeline unless he felt threatened. So we have the advantage, Jake said. We have momentum. That's not quite the same thing. Sarah pulled out a map of Seattle, spread it on the table. Pier 9, industrial area. Lots of warehouses. Good sightlines for snipers, but also good cover for shooters. He picked his ground carefully. Can your team get in position before midnight? We can. But Jake, I need you to understand something. The moment you walk into that warehouse, you're in the kill zone. If something goes wrong, if Marcus figures out it's a trap, you'll be the first person he shoots. We'll move fast, but there's going to be a window where you're alone with him. Can you handle that?" Jake had been in the kill zone before. Syria, Iraq. Places where the only thing between him and death was training and luck. He'd survived then. He could survive now. "I can handle it." "Then we're doing this." Sarah looked around the table. "HRT mobilization starts now. I want full surveillance on Pier 9 within 2 hours. 3 sniper teams. 2 breach teams. Air support on standby. Morrison goes in wired with a panic button. If anything goes sideways, we hit Marcus with everything we have." The team scattered, already pulling out phones and laptops. Sarah grabbed Jake's arm as he stood. "Don't play hero in there," she said quietly. "Your job is to survive long enough for us to take Marcus down. That's it. Don't engage. Don't fight. Just talk and stay alive." That's the plan. Plans change. When they do, you hit that panic button and you get down. Understand? Jake nodded. Sarah let him go. Catherine was waiting in the hallway. "You don't have to do this," she said. "We could run. Take Connor and disappear. I have resources. We could—" "I've been running for 10 years, Jake cut in. "I'm done running. Connor deserves better than a father who's always looking over his shoulder. He deserves a living father. He'll have one. I'm not planning to die tonight. Marcus is." "Yeah, he is." Catherine studied his face. "You're scared. Terrified. But you're doing it anyway. That's what being a parent is. Being terrified and doing it anyway." She didn't argue, just reached out and squeezed his hand. "I'll be in the surveillance van, watching. If something goes wrong, then you make sure Connor knows I tried. You'll tell him yourself." Jake hoped she was right. They spent the next 6 hours preparing. Sarah's team fitted Jake with a wire so thin he couldn't feel it against his skin, an earpiece invisible to anyone more than 3 feet away, and a panic button sewn into his jacket lining. Press it twice, and the HRT would move in with lethal force. "Test it," Sarah said. Jake pressed the button. Sarah's radio crackled. She nodded. "Good. Remember 2 presses, not 1. 1 could be accidental. 2 means you're in immediate danger, and we come in shooting." "Got it." "And Jake?" Sarah's voice dropped. "Marcus is going to try to get in your head. He'll threaten Connor. He'll threaten you. He'll say things designed to make you react. Don't. Keep him talking. Keep him focused on the exchange. Every second you buy us is another second we get closer. What if he wants to search me for wires? Then you let him. The wire is undetectable unless he's got professional equipment, which he won't bring to a simple exchange. He thinks he has the upper hand. Doesn't he?" Sarah smiled grimly. "He thinks he does. That's what's going to get him caught." Catherine pulled Jake aside while the tech team ran final checks on the equipment. They stood in an empty office, just the 2 of them, the weight of the next few hours pressing down like a physical thing. "You should call Connor," Catherine said. "Before you go in, just in case. That'll scare him. Not calling him will scare him more. Trust me on this." Jake pulled out his phone, then hesitated. "What do I say?" "The truth. That you love him. That you're thinking about him. That you'll see him soon." Jake dialed the number Davis had given him. It rang 3 times before Connor answered. "Dad!" The sound of his son's voice hit Jake like a physical blow. "Hey, buddy. How you doing?" "Okay, the house is really big. They have a pool. Davis said maybe tomorrow we can swim." "That sounds fun. When are you coming?" "Soon. Real soon. I just wanted to call and check on you. Make sure you're okay." "I'm okay. I miss you, though." Jake's throat closed up. "I miss you too, Con. More than you know." "Are you with the bad man right now?" "Not right now, but I'm going to see him tonight. Going to make sure he can't bother us anymore." Connor was quiet for a moment. Will it be dangerous? Jake could lie. Should lie. But Connor had Michelle's ability to hear the truth behind words, and lying to him now felt like the worst kind of betrayal. Maybe a little dangerous, but I've got good people helping me. Really good people. And I'm going to be careful. You promise? I promise. Pinky promise. Jake's eyes burned. Yeah, buddy. Pinky promise. Okay. I love you, Dad. I love you too. So much. Don't ever forget that. I won't. Come get me soon, okay? As soon as I can. Jake hung up before his voice could break. Catherine was watching him with an expression that said she understood exactly what that conversation cost. He's a good kid, she said quietly. He's the only good thing I ever did. Then let's make sure he gets his father back. At 11:15, they left for Pier 9. Sarah drove the surveillance van herself. Jake and Catherine in back with 2 tech specialists monitoring feeds from cameras the FBI had set up in the past 4 hours. 3 sniper teams were already in position. 2 breach teams waited in adjacent warehouses. Air support circled at 5,000 feet. We've got full coverage, one of the techs said, pointing to monitors showing the warehouse from 6 different angles. The moment Marcus shows, we'll have eyes on him. What about his backup? Jake asked. Thermal imaging shows 2 heat signatures on the roof of the building across the street. Probably spotters. We've got them covered. If they make a move, our snipers take them out. Sarah pulled the van into position 3 blocks away, killed the engine, checked her watch. 11:45. You've got 15 minutes. You ready? Jake thought about Connor, about Michelle, about the life he wanted versus the life he'd lived. No, but I'm going anyway. That's what bravery looks like, Catherine said. She reached out, squeezed his shoulder. I'll be watching every second. If things go wrong, they won't. But if they do, you get Connor. You raise him. You make sure he knows Jake. Catherine's voice was firm. You're going to tell him yourself. Tonight. When this is over. Understood. Jake wanted to believe her. Nodded like he did. He stepped out of the van into the Seattle night. Cold. Damp. The smell of salt water and diesel. The warehouse loomed ahead, dark except for a single light over the entrance. Jake's heart hammered, but his hands were steady. Muscle memory from another life taking over. Sarah's voice crackled in his earpiece. We have you on visual. You're clear to approach. Jake walked toward the warehouse. Every step felt like walking toward his own execution. The fake flash drive sat in his pocket, identical to the real one, except for the data. If Marcus checked it before the FBI moved in, Jake was dead. If Marcus brought more men than thermal imaging caught, Jake was dead. If anything went wrong at all, Jake was dead. He reached the door, pulled it open, stepped inside. The warehouse was vast and empty, except for a single overhead light, creating a circle of illumination in the center. Jake walked toward it, boots echoing on concrete. He could feel eyes on him. Could feel crosshairs tracking him from the rooftop across the street. Sarah's voice again. Subject approaching from your 6. Stand by. Headlights swept through the entrance. A black sedan rolled in slow and deliberate. Stopped 20 feet from Jake. The door opened and Marcus Reeves stepped out. He looked exactly the same. Same suit. Same calm expression. Same eyes that had watched men die without blinking. Right on time, Marcus said. I appreciate punctuality. Where's my son? Safe. For now. Marcus walked closer, stopped just outside arm's reach. You bring the files. Jake pulled out the flash drive, held it up. Right here. Toss it to me. Not until you prove Connor's alive. Marcus sighed, pulled out his phone, tapped the screen. He turned it so Jake could see. Video footage. Time-stamped 20 minutes ago. Connor sitting in a room Jake recognized from Catherine's estate, looking scared but unharmed. Davis was visible in the background. Jake's chest loosened. The video was real. Marcus hadn't gotten to Connor. "Satisfied?" Marcus asked. "For now." "Then give me the drive." Jake tossed it. Marcus caught it one-handed, pulled a laptop from his car, plugged the drive in. His fingers moved across the keyboard, checking files, verifying contents. Jake watched his face, watched for the moment. Marcus realized it was fake. It came faster than expected. Marcus's expression shifted from concentration to suspicion to cold, murderous rage. He looked up slowly. "This is empty." "Yeah," Jake said. "Funny how that works." Marcus pulled a gun, aimed it at Jake's chest. "You think this is a game? You think I won't kill you right here?" "Go ahead." Jake kept his voice steady, even though his pulse screamed. "Kill me, and you never get those files. They're encrypted. Hidden. If I don't check in with the right person at the right time, they get uploaded to every news outlet, every congressional committee, every international court that would love to put you away. So pull that trigger, Marcus. See what happens." Marcus's jaw tightened. The gun didn't waver. "Where's your son right now, Jake? You think I can't make that phone call? Have him bleeding out in the next 60 seconds? That footage was fake. Jake took a step forward. "Connor's not with your people. He's somewhere you'll never find him. Protected by people a hell of a lot more competent than Titan's contractors. You lost Marcus. It's over. Nothing's over until I say it's over." Marcus's finger moved to the trigger. "You were always too soft, Jake. Too worried about civilians. About doing the right thing. That's why you'll never win. Because you still think there are rules." "Federal agents, drop the weapon." Sarah's voice boomed through a megaphone, amplified, echoing off the walls. "You're surrounded. Drop the weapon now." Red laser dots appeared on Marcus's chest. A dozen of them from every angle. Sniper teams locked on. Marcus spun, trying to track the threats, but there were too many. "Drop it." Sarah's voice again. "This is your last warning." Marcus fired. The shot went wide, hitting concrete, ricocheting into darkness. Return fire lit up the warehouse like lightning. Marcus went down, blood blooming on his shoulder, the gun spinning away across the floor. Jake dove behind a steel support beam, hands over his head, as FBI agents swarmed through every entrance. They moved like a flood rifles, up shouting commands. Within seconds, Marcus was on his stomach, hands being cuffed behind his back, blood pooling beneath him. "Clear," someone shouted. "Clear. All clear." Sarah appeared beside Jake, offered a hand to help him up. "You okay?" Jake's ears were ringing, his hands shaking, but he nodded. Yeah, I'm okay." "Good, because we're not done yet." She led him outside where Marcus was being loaded into an ambulance, still cursing, still threatening, blood soaking through the bandages paramedics were pressing to his shoulder. "Shoulder wounds not fatal," Sarah said. "He'll live to stand trial, and with what you've given us, we'll bury him." Jake watched the ambulance doors close, taking Marcus away. The man who'd haunted his nightmares for 10 years, reduced to a wounded suspect in federal custody. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt hollow. "What about the rest of Titan?" Jake asked. "Warrants are being executed right now. We're hitting their offices, their homes, their bank accounts. By morning, the entire command structure will be in custody. You did good, Jake. You did really good." Catherine appeared, moving fast across the parking lot. She grabbed Jake and pulled him into a hug that probably wasn't professional, but felt necessary anyway. "You scared me half to death," she said into his shoulder. "Sorry." "Don't apologize. Just don't do it again." "Deal." She pulled back, looked at his face. "Connor. Safe. The video was real. Davis has him." "Then let's go get your son." Sarah shook her head. "Not yet. I need his statement first. Full debrief. And Jake, you need to understand this is just the beginning. There's going to be a trial. Marcus will fight this. His lawyers will come after you. It could take months. I don't care how long it takes, As long as Connor's safe. He will be. We're putting you both in witness protection until the trial's over. New identities. New location. Full federal oversight. Jake thought about that. About becoming someone else again. About running one more time. But this time, it would end. This time, there'd be a finish line. Okay, he said. Whatever it takes. They spent the next 4 hours in an FBI conference room. Jake walked them through everything again. Every detail of the confrontation. Every word Marcus said. Every threat he made. Sarah's team recorded it all, took notes, built their case brick by brick. By the time they finished, dawn was breaking over Seattle. We're done, Sarah said finally. Go. Go get your son. You've earned it. Catherine had a plane waiting. They flew to California in silence. Jake too exhausted to talk, his mind replaying the moment Marcus pulled the trigger, the moment everything could have ended differently. You're thinking too much, Catherine said. Can't help it. Connor's safe. Marcus is in custody. You won. Let yourself feel that. Doesn't feel like winning. What does it feel like? Jake thought about that. Like I just traded one prison for another. Witness protection. New names, new lives. Still running. Not running. Rebuilding. There's a difference. Is there? Catherine looked out the window at the clouds, sliding past below them. When I was 25, I took over my father's company. He'd built it from nothing, and when he died, everyone expected me to sell it. Cash out. Live off the money. But I didn't. I fought for it. Fought the board, fought the stockholders, fought every man who thought I couldn't do it. And you know what I learned? What? That winning doesn't feel like victory. It feels like exhaustion. Like relief. Like finally being able to breathe after holding your breath for years. That's what you're feeling right now. Not defeat. Relief. Jake wanted to believe her. Let his head fall back against the seat. Closed his eyes. Within minutes, he was asleep. Catherine woke him when they landed. We're here. The estate was massive. Gates, guards, manicured lawns that probably cost more to maintain than Jake made in a year. Catherine's driver took them to the main house where Davis was waiting on the front steps. Mr. Morrison, good to see you in one piece. Connor. Inside, playing video games. Kid's been asking about you every 20 minutes. Jake didn't wait. He pushed past Davis through the front door, following the sound of electronic gunfire to a sitting room where Connor sat cross-legged in front of a massive television controller in hand. Dad, Connor dropped the controller, launched himself across the room. Jake caught him, lifted him up, held him so tight he probably couldn't breathe. Connor was crying. Jake was crying. Neither of them cared. I'm sorry, Jake whispered. I'm so sorry, buddy. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Are the bad guys gone? Connor's voice was muffled against Jake's shoulder. Yeah, they're gone. It's over. Promise? I promise. Nobody's going to hurt you, not now, not ever. I'm going to make sure of that. Connor pulled back, looked at Jake's face. Can we go home now? Jake's heart broke a little. Not yet. We have to wait a little bit. Make sure everything's really safe, but soon. I promise. Connor seemed to accept that. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Miss Sterling has a pool. And a movie room. And Davis said maybe we could go to the beach tomorrow. That sounds fun. Will you come? Yeah, buddy. Yeah, I'll come. Connor climbed down, grabbed Jake's hand. Want to play video games with me? More than anything. They played for 2 hours. Some racing game Jake was terrible at. Connor won every race and laughed every time Jake's car crashed into a wall or fell off a cliff. The sound of that laughter was the best thing Jake had heard in days. Catherine appeared in the doorway around noon. Lunch is ready. You two hungry? Connor looked at Jake. Can we eat by the pool? It's up to Miss Sterling. Of course, Catherine said. Whatever you want. They ate sandwiches on the patio overlooking the pool. Connor talked non-stop about everything he'd done in the past 24 hours. All the fear from yesterday buried under the resilience kids have. Jake listened, responded when appropriate, but mostly just watched his son be a kid again. After lunch, Connor wanted to swim. Jake sat on the edge of the pool, feet in the water, watching Connor do cannonballs and practice his backstroke. Catherine sat beside him. "He's doing okay," she said quietly. "Better than me." "Kids are tough." "He shouldn't have to be." "No, but he is. And that's not your fault, Jake." Jake wasn't sure he believed that, but arguing felt exhausting. "What happens now?" "Now you rest. Let the FBI build their case. Let the lawyers handle the legal side. You focus on being a father. And after the trial? After the trial, you have choices. Witness protection if you want it. Or not. You could stay here. I meant what I said about the job. Head of security for Sterling Industries. It's yours if you want it." "I'm a carpenter, Catherine. I don't know anything about corporate security." "You know how to protect people. You know how to assess threats. You know how to make hard decisions under pressure. That's 90% of the job. The rest you can learn." Jake watched Connor swim. "Can I think about it?" "Take all the time you need. The offer stands." Sarah called that evening while Connor was watching a movie. Jake stepped outside to take it. "We've got 47 people in custody," Sarah said without preamble. "Marcus is talking, not cooperating exactly, but his lawyer's making noise about a deal. Reduced sentence in exchange for testimony against the others. Will you take it? We don't need it. Between your files and the evidence we've seized, we have enough to convict everyone. But his cooperation speeds things up. Could knock months off the timeline. What about Connor and me? Witness protection is ready when you are. We can move you tomorrow if you want. New names, new city, new lives." Jake thought about that. About becoming someone else again. About Connor growing up with a fake name and a father who couldn't talk about his past. "How long do we have to decide?" "Trial's scheduled for 6 months from now. You need to decide before then." "But Jake?" "There's something else." "What?" "The media's all over this. Your name's everywhere. Hero who saved a billionaire takes down a mercenary company. You're news. And that means you're exposed. Even after the trial, even in witness protection, people will recognize you. It's going to be hard to disappear." "I've done it before. Not with this much attention, and not with a kid who's about to start asking questions about why you're both hiding." Jake had no answer for that. "Think about it," Sarah said. "Talk to Catherine. Talk to Connor when he's old enough. Figure out what kind of life you want. Then call me." She hung up. Jake stood on the patio looking at the lights of the city in the distance, wondering what the hell came next. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Jake and Connor stayed at Catherine's estate while the FBI built their case and the media storm raged outside the gates. Reporters camped at the entrance. Helicopters flew overhead. Jake's face was on every news channel, his story dissected by talking heads who didn't know him and didn't care about the truth. Connor handled it better than Jake expected. He was scared sometimes, especially at night when he'd wake up from nightmares and climb into Jake's bed. But during the day, he was just a kid, swimming, playing, making friends with Catherine's staff, slowly healing from the trauma in the way kids do by living forward instead of looking back. Catherine became a fixture in their lives. She worked from home most days, joining them for meals, teaching Connor to play chess, talking with Jake about the future. Somewhere in those conversations, something shifted between them. Not romance exactly, but partnership, trust, the kind of bond forged in fire. "You should stay," she said one evening after Connor was asleep. They were sitting on the patio, the pool lights casting blue reflections across the water. Here, California, take the job. Let Connor put down roots. Stop running. The media, we'll move on, they always do. In 6 months, there'll be another story, another hero, another scandal. You'll fade into the background. And if you're working for me, you'll have legitimacy, a reason to be here, a life that makes sense. What about witness protection? Is that what you want? New names, new city. Starting over from scratch. Jake thought about that. About Connor having to lie about who he was. About never being able to talk about Michelle. About erasing the only identity Connor had ever known. No, he said finally. I don't want that. Then don't do it. Stay here. Build something real. Let Connor be Connor. Let yourself be Jake Morrison, not some ghost. And if Marcus's people come after us, then they'll have to get through me, and my security, and the FBI, and every resource I can bring to bear. You're not alone anymore, Jake. Stop acting like you are. The words hit harder than they should have, because she was right. Jake had spent 10 years alone fighting his battles solo, trusting no one. But that life had almost gotten Connor killed. Maybe it was time to try something different. Okay, he said. I'll stay. We'll stay. Catherine smiled. Good. Because I already had HR draw up your employment contract. Jake laughed despite himself. Presumptuous. Efficient. There's a difference. The trial happened 5 months later. Marcus Reeves and 36 other defendants facing charges ranging from war crimes to murder to racketeering. Jake testified for 8 hours over 2 days. Walked the jury through everything. The missions, the civilians, the orders Marcus gave, the files he'd stolen. Marcus's lawyers tried to tear him apart. Called him a traitor, a thief, a man with blood on his own hands trying to deflect blame. Jake took it all. Answered every question. Never wavered. The jury deliberated for 4 days. Came back with guilty verdicts on 83 of 92 counts. Marcus got 40 years in a federal supermax. No parole. Jake sat in the courtroom when the sentence was read, Catherine on one side, Connor on the other. Felt nothing. No relief, no victory. Just exhaustion. Outside, reporters swarmed. Jake ignored them, kept his head down. Let Catherine's security clear a path to the car. One reporter got through, shoved a microphone in his face. Mr. Morrison, how do you feel now that Marcus Reeves is going to prison? Jake stopped, looked at the camera. Connor was watching. Wyatt, who needed to believe his father was a good man despite everything. Justice was served, Jake said. That's what matters. Simple, clean. True enough for television. They drove back to California in silence. Connor fell asleep in the back seat. Catherine drove. Jake stared out the window at the landscape sliding past, feeling like he was emerging from a decade-long tunnel into light he'd forgotten existed. It's over, Catherine said quietly. Is it? The trial's done. Marcus is in prison. Titan Solutions is dissolved. What else is there? Jake thought about that. About the men he'd killed. About the lives he'd destroyed. About the weight he'd carry forever. Guilt. That never goes away. You just learn to live with it. How? By building something better. By being better. By raising your son to be the kind of man who wouldn't make the choices you made. Jake looked at Connor's sleeping peaceful safe. Yeah, I can do that. They moved into a house in Napa 3 weeks after the trial ended. Nothing fancy by Catherine's standards, but to Jake, it felt like a mansion. 4 bedrooms, a yard, a garage where he could set up a workshop, close enough to Catherine's estate that Connor could still visit far enough that they had their own space. Connor picked out his room immediately. 2nd floor, window facing the backyard. He stood in the empty space, arms spread wide. Can I paint it blue? Any color you want, buddy? And can we get a dog? Jake hesitated. A dog meant permanence, meant staying, meant believing they were really safe. Maybe. Let's get settled first. That means yes, right? That means maybe. Connor grinned, like maybe was close enough. He ran downstairs to explore the rest of the house, his footsteps echoing off bare walls. Jake stood alone in the empty bedroom, listening to his son's laughter drift up from below, and felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Hope. Catherine showed up that afternoon with a truck full of furniture. Not new stuff. Used pieces from her estate that she claimed she didn't need anymore. Jake knew she'd bought most of it specifically for them, but he didn't argue. Pride was expensive, and he couldn't afford it. "I brought a couch," she said, directing the movers. 2 beds, a kitchen table, some lamps, the basics. "Catherine, this is too much." "It's furniture, Jake, not a kidney. Let me help." They spent the day setting up. Connor helped carry boxes assigned himself the job of unwrapping dishes, broke 2 plates, and apologized so profusely that Jake had to reassure him 3 times that it was fine. By evening, the house looked lived in. Not perfect, but theirs. Catherine ordered pizza for dinner. They ate on the floor of the living room because Jake hadn't assembled the table yet. Connor talked about his new school, about the kids he'd met during his visit last week, about whether he should try out for soccer or baseball. "What do you think, Dad?" "I think you should try whatever sounds fun." "But which one?" "Whichever one you want." Connor frowned, thinking hard. "Can I do both?" "If you want, we'll make it work." After dinner, Catherine helped Connor pick out paint colors on her phone, while Jake started assembling the table. It was peaceful work. Mindless. The kind of thing that let his brain rest for the first time in months. "Jake!" Catherine appeared in the doorway. "Connor's asleep on the couch. You want me to carry him up?" "I've got him." Jake washed the sawdust off his hands, went to the living room where Connor was curled up face slack with exhaustion. Jake picked him up carefully, carried him upstairs to his new room, tucked him into the sleeping bag they'd set up until the bed frame arrived. Connor stirred, opened his eyes halfway. "Dad?" "Right here, buddy." "Is this home now?" The question caught Jake off guard. "Yeah, this is home." "Good." Connor's eyes drifted shut again. "I like it here." Jake stayed there for a moment, watching his son sleep, wondering how he'd gotten this lucky. Then he went back downstairs where Catherine was cleaning up the pizza boxes. "He's out," Jake said. "Good. Kid had a big day." Catherine tied up the trash bag, set it by the door. "You did good, Jake. This is good for him." "I hope so." "You don't sound convinced." Jake leaned against the counter. "I keep waiting for something to go wrong. For Marcus's people to show up. For the FBI to change their minds. For Connor to wake up and realize his dad's a killer who dragged him into hell." Connor doesn't think that. He doesn't know enough to think that. What happens when he's older? When he starts asking questions about what I did, about why we had to hide? Then you tell him the truth, that you made mistakes, that you tried to fix them, that you chose him over everything else. Catherine crossed her arms. "Kids don't need perfect parents, Jake. They need honest ones. Michelle was perfect. Michelle was human. And she's gone. Connor needs the parent he has, not the one he lost." The words stung, but they were true. Jake had spent 3 years comparing himself to Michelle's memory, trying to be both mother and father, knowing he'd never measure up. Maybe it was time to stop trying. "You're right," he said. "I usually am." Jake smiled despite himself. "Thanks. For everything. The house, the job, all of it." "You saved my life, Jake. This is the least I can do." Catherine picked up her purse, headed for the door. "Get some rest. You start work Monday. HR will have your badge and access ready." "What exactly does head of security do?" "Whatever I tell you to. Don't worry, we'll start you easy. Threat assessments, protocol reviews, no field work unless you want it. And if I don't, then you don't. This isn't Titan Solutions, Jake. You're not an asset. You're an employee with rights and boundaries and the ability to say no." The concept felt foreign. Saying no to orders, having boundaries, being treated like a person instead of a weapon. I'll try to remember that. You better, because I'm not Marcus. I don't own you. Got it. Got it. She left. Jake locked the door behind her, checked the windows, set the alarm system Catherine had insisted on installing. Old habits. But maybe some habits were worth keeping. He spent the next hour finishing the table, then headed upstairs. His own room was still empty, except for a mattress on the floor and a lamp. He lay down, stared at the ceiling, listened to Connor's soft breathing through the wall. For the first time in 10 years, Jake Morrison felt safe enough to sleep without a gun under his pillow. The job started easier than expected. Catherine wasn't lying about starting him slow. His first week was orientation paperwork meeting department heads. His second week was threat assessment reviews, reading incident reports, learning Sterling Industries' existing protocols. By week 3, Catherine dropped a file on his desk. Corporate espionage, she said. Someone's leaking product designs to our competitors. I need you to figure out who. Jake flipped through the file. Engineering specs. Timeline of leaks. List of employees with access. You want me to investigate your own people? I want you to protect my company. That's your job. I'm not a detective. You track targets across 3 continents. You can track a leak in my R&D department. Catherine leaned against his desk. And Jake, I need this quiet. No cops, no FBI. Internal only. Can you handle that? Jake looked at the file again. Saw the challenge underneath. Catherine testing him. Seeing if he could operate in corporate waters instead of combat zones. Yeah, I can handle it. It took him 2 weeks. He installed monitoring software on company servers, tracked file access, cross-referenced employee schedules with leak timelines. Narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Interviewed all 3. Caught one in a lie. Junior engineer named David Chen. 26. Student loans. Gambling debts. Selling designs for $20,000 per leak. Jake brought the evidence to Catherine. She called Chen into her office, fired him on the spot, had legal file criminal charges within the hour. Good work, she said after Chen was escorted out by security. He was desperate. The debts were crushing him. And that's sad. But he still committed a crime. Catherine closed the file. You feel bad for him. Wouldn't you? I feel bad he made a stupid choice. But I don't regret the consequences. There's a difference. Jake thought about that. About the village elder. About the choice he'd made to walk away instead of pull the trigger. About whether having empathy made you weak or human. Marcus used to say empathy was weakness, Jake said. Marcus was an idiot. Empathy is what separates us from monsters. You feel bad for Chen. That's good. It means you're not broken. Catherine stood up, straightened her jacket. But feeling bad doesn't mean you don't do your job. Remember that. Connor adjusted to his new school better than Jake expected. Made friends fast. Joined the soccer team. Came home with stories about kids with names Jake couldn't keep straight, and drama that seemed monumentally important to 8-year-olds. Tyler said I could sleep over this weekend, Connor announced one evening over dinner. Can I? Jake's instinct was to say no. Sleepovers meant being out of sight. Out of control. Vulnerable. Who's Tyler? My best friend. You met his mom at soccer practice last week. Jake vaguely remembered a woman named Lisa. Friendly, normal. Let me think about it. Dad, please, everyone's going. If I don't go, I'll be the weird kid. You're not weird. I will be if I'm the only one who can't do sleepovers. Jake looked at his son's face, saw the desperation there. The need to be normal, to fit in, to not be the kid whose life was different because his dad was paranoid. Okay, Jake said. But I need to meet Tyler's parents first, and I need their address and phone number. Yes, Connor pumped his fist. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jake called Lisa that night. Had a conversation that probably sounded normal to her but felt like an interrogation to him. Where did they live? Who else would be there? What were the safety protocols? Did they have guns in the house? A pool. Lisa answered everything patiently. probably thinking Jake was just an overprotective single dad. She wasn't wrong. She just didn't know why. The sleepover went fine. Connor came home the next morning buzzing with excitement about video games and staying up until midnight and eating so much pizza he thought he'd explode. Jake listened, nodded, pretended his heart hadn't been in his throat all night. "Can Tyler come over here next time?" Connor asked. "Sure." "And can we get that dog now Tyler has a dog? A golden retriever. He's so cool, Dad. Can we get one like that?" Jake thought about Marcus, about the trial, about whether they were really safe enough for a dog, for permanence, for believing this life would last. "Yeah," he said. "Yeah, we can get a dog." Connor's face lit up like Christmas morning. "Really? Really? We'll go to the shelter this weekend." They got a mutt named Buster, 3 years old, brown and white, part lab, part something else nobody could identify. He loved Connor immediately, followed him everywhere, slept at the foot of his bed like a furry guardian. Jake watched them play in the backyard one afternoon, Buster chasing a tennis ball, Connor laughing so hard he could barely breathe. Catherine appeared beside him, 2 glasses of lemonade in hand. "You did good," she said, handing him a glass. "He wanted a dog." "I mean with everything. The house, the job, building a life. You did good, Jake." Jake watched Connor tackle Buster in the grass, both of them rolling around like idiots. "Doesn't feel like enough." "It never does. That's parenthood." "You got kids?" "No." Catherine's voice went quiet. "Never found the time. Built a company instead. Some days I wonder if I made the wrong choice." "You could still." "I'm 52, Jake. That ship sailed." She sipped her lemonade. "But I've got you and Connor now. Not the same, but it's something." Jake looked at her. Really looked. Saw the loneliness underneath the confidence. The woman who'd built an empire but came home to an empty house. "You're always welcome here. You know that, right?" "I know. Thank you." They stood there in comfortable silence, watching Connor and Buster play, both of them damaged in different ways, both of them trying to figure out what came next. The months passed. Jake settled into work, into fatherhood, into a life that felt almost normal. He still checked the locks twice before bed. Still woke up sometimes from nightmares where Marcus wasn't in prison, where Connor was screaming, where everything went wrong. But the nightmares came less frequently. The fear loosened its grip. Connor turned 9. They threw a party, invited his soccer team. Catherine helped Jake order a cake shaped like a soccer ball. Kids ran around the backyard, high on sugar and chaos. Jake supervised making sure nobody got hurt, feeling like a real dad instead of a soldier pretending. Tyler's mom, Lisa, stayed to help clean up after the other parents left. She was nice, pretty. Asked Jake if he wanted to grab coffee sometime. "Just coffee," she said quickly. "Not a date, unless you want it to be a date. But it doesn't have to be. I just thought we could talk, parent stuff, you know." Jake realized she was nervous, realized she was asking him out, realized he hadn't thought about dating since Michelle died. "I don't know," he said. "It's complicated." Complicated like you're seeing someone, or complicated like you're not ready? Both. Neither. I don't know. Lisa smiled. "That's okay. Offer stands. If you change your mind, you know where to find me." She left. Jake stood in his kitchen, surrounded by birthday decorations and dirty plates, feeling like he'd just failed some kind of test he didn't know he was taking. "You should go out with her," Catherine said. She'd stayed to help was loading the dishwasher with an efficiency that suggested she'd never actually loaded a dishwasher before. "It's too soon. Michelle died 3 years ago. Feels like yesterday. To you, not to Connor. He's moving forward, Jake. Maybe you should too." Jake thought about that. About whether moving forward meant forgetting. About whether letting someone in meant betraying Michelle's memory. About whether he was even capable of letting someone in after everything. "I'll think about it," he said. "That's all I'm asking." Winter came, Connor's first Christmas in their new house. Jake bought a tree, let Connor pick out ornaments, strung lights that took 3 tries to get right. Catherine came over Christmas Eve. Brought presents wrapped so perfectly, Jake wondered if she'd hired someone. They watched Christmas movies, drank hot chocolate. Connor fell asleep on the couch between them around 10. Catherine looked at Jake over his son's sleeping head. "This is nice," she said quietly. "Yeah, it is." "You ever think about what comes next?" "What do you mean?" "Long term. 5 years. 10 years. What do you want your life to look like?" Jake looked at Connor. "I want him to be happy, safe, normal." "And you?" "I don't matter." "That's a lie, and you know it." Catherine shifted Connor gently, made him more comfortable. "You matter, Jake. Your happiness matters. You can't spend the rest of your life in survival mode." "I'm not in survival mode." "Really? When's the last time you did something just for you? When's the last time you let yourself enjoy something without waiting for it to be taken away?" Jake had no answer. Because she was right. He'd been waiting for the other shoe to drop since the day he pulled Catherine from that jet. Waiting for Marcus's associates to come for revenge. Waiting for the FBI to change their minds. Waiting for Connor to realize his father wasn't worth loving. "I don't know how to stop," he admitted. "Then learn. Start small. Say yes to coffee with Lisa. Take a day off. Let yourself believe this life is real." Catherine stood up, grabbed her coat. "I should go. Let you get Connor to bed." "Stay." The word came out before Jake could stop it. "I mean, it's late. Guest room's open, unless you want to drive back." Catherine studied his face. "You sure?" "Yeah, I'm sure." She stayed, helped Jake carry Connor upstairs, said goodnight, and disappeared into the guest room. Jake lay in his own bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering what he was doing. Wondering if asking her to stay meant something or nothing. Wondering if he even knew the difference anymore. The next morning was chaos. Connor up at 6, running downstairs to see what Santa brought. Jake following bleary-eyed, finding Catherine already in the kitchen making coffee. "You're up early," he said. "Couldn't sleep. Too excited." "For Christmas. For watching Connor open presents. I've never done this before. The whole family Christmas morning thing." She handed him coffee. "Thank you for letting me be part of it." Jake took the mug. "Thank you for being here." They watched Connor tear through presents. Action figures. Books. A new bike that Jake would have to assemble later. Connor's face was pure joy, untainted by anything that came before. In that moment, Jake let himself believe it would last. The weeks after Christmas were quiet. Work, school, soccer practice, normal life. Jake had coffee with Lisa. It was fine. Not awkward, not amazing, just fine. She talked about her divorce. He talked vaguely about Michelle. Neither of them pushed for more. "Second coffee?" she asked at the end. "Maybe. Can I let you know?" "Sure." She touched his hand briefly. "Take your time. I'm not going anywhere." He told Catherine about it later. She smiled like she'd won something. "See? That wasn't so bad." "It was coffee, Catherine, not a wedding." "It's a start. That's what matters." Jake's phone rang. Sarah Chen's name on the screen. His stomach dropped. Sarah hadn't called since the trial ended 6 months ago. He answered. "Jake, we need to talk." "What's wrong?" "Can you come to the field office today if possible? It's important." "How important?" "Just come. I'll explain when you get here." Jake drove to Seattle that afternoon. Left Connor with Catherine. Didn't tell him why. Didn't want to scare him until he knew what this was about. Sarah met him in the lobby, led him to the same conference room where they'd planned the warehouse operation. 2 other agents waited inside. Their expressions said this wasn't good news. "What happened?" Jake asked. Sarah slid a folder across the table. "Marcus Reeves filed an appeal. His lawyers are claiming prosecutorial misconduct, saying we coerced your testimony. That the evidence was obtained illegally." Jake's blood went cold. "Can they do that?" They can try. It's a long shot. We followed every protocol. But Jake, if they succeed, if they get the conviction overturned, he walks free. Potentially. Or gets a new trial. Which means you'd have to testify again. Which means more media attention. More exposure. Jake sat down hard. When will we know? Appeals process takes time. Could be 6 months. Could be a year. I just wanted you to be prepared. What do I tell Connor? The truth. That the legal system has processes. That we're confident the conviction will stand. That he's safe. Is he safe? Sarah hesitated. Just a fraction of a second. But Jake caught it. We have no credible threats against you or Connor. Marcus is in a supermax. He has no contact with the outside except his lawyers. He can't coordinate anything from inside. But his lawyers are expensive. Someone's paying them. Someone who wants him out. Who? We don't know yet. Could be former Titan Solutions associates. Could be someone with a grudge against the government. We're investigating. Jake stood up, paced. I need more protection for Connor. You have protection. Catherine's security. Your own training. And we're monitoring the situation. That's not enough. It's all we can offer right now, unless you want to reconsider witness protection. New names, new city. After Connor just got settled. It's an option. Jake thought about Connor, about his friends, his school, his dog, his life. No, we're not running again. Then we stay vigilant, and we trust the system. The system that might let Marcus walk free. The system that put him away in the first place. Sarah's voice was firm. Don't give up on it yet, Jake. We've got good judges, good lawyers. The evidence is solid. Marcus isn't going anywhere. Jake wanted to believe her. Drove home trying to convince himself she was right. But the fear was back cold and familiar, wrapping around his chest like a vice. He told Catherine that night after Connor was asleep. What do you need? She asked. Better security, more cameras, maybe bodyguards for Connor. Done. I'll have my team upgrade your system tomorrow. And Jake, I'll hire personal security for Connor. Discreet. He won't even know they're there. That's expensive. I don't care about expensive. I care about keeping you both safe. Jake looked at her. This woman who'd become family without either of them planning it. Why do you care so much? Because you saved my life. Because Connor reminds me of who I could have been if I'd made different choices. Because you're both good people in a world that doesn't have enough of them. Catherine reached out, squeezed his hand. And because I don't want to lose either of you. Jake squeezed back. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just keep being careful. Keep your eyes open. And if you see anything suspicious, anything at all, you call me. Understood. Understood. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He checked Connor's room 3 times. Checked the locks. Checked the cameras. Sat in the living room with his old Glock watching the street waiting for headlights that never came. Around 3 a.m. his phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Jake's heart stopped. He opened it. Just a photo, nothing else. But the photo made his blood freeze. Connor. At soccer practice. Taken yesterday. Close up. Clear. Someone had been watching his son. Below the photo, one line of text. Nothing's over until I say it's over. Marcus's words. From the warehouse. Before the FBI moved in. Jake's hands shook as he dialed Sarah. She answered on the second ring, instantly alert. Jake? He knows where we are. Someone's watching Connor. Slow down. What happened? Jake forwarded the photo. Heard Sarah swear on the other end. I'm sending a team to your house now. Stay inside. Don't let Connor out of your sight. We'll handle this. How do we handle this when you don't even know who's doing it? We will find out. I promise you, Jake. We will find out. The line went dead. Jake sat in the dark, gun in hand, watching his son's door, wondering if he'd ever really escaped his past, or if he'd just been living on borrowed time. wondering if saving Catherine Sterling's life had been the beginning of his redemption or the beginning of his end. FBI agents arrived within 20 minutes. 2 cars. 4 agents. Sarah wasn't with them, but she called while they were sweeping the house. "We're pulling security footage from every camera within a mile of that soccer field," she said. "We'll find who took that photo. And then what? Arrest them for taking a picture. If they're connected to Marcus, yes. Conspiracy. Witness intimidation. We'll make something stick." "That doesn't protect Connor." "I know. That's why I'm assigning you protection detail. Round-the-clock surveillance. Someone will always be watching." Jake looked at Connor's closed bedroom door. "He's going to notice agents following him everywhere. Then we make them invisible. Unmarked cars, plain clothes, distant enough that Connor doesn't see them, but close enough to respond if anything happens." "For how long?" "As long as it takes." Jake hung up, stood in his living room surrounded by FBI agents checking windows and installing additional monitoring equipment. This was supposed to be over. The trial was done. Marcus was in prison. They were supposed to be safe. Catherine arrived at dawn, storming through his front door like she owned it. Maybe in a way she did. She'd paid for half the furniture. "Why didn't you call me?" "I called Sarah." "I should have been your first call." She grabbed his shoulders, looked him in the eye. "Jake, I meant what I said. You're not alone in this. I have resources Sarah doesn't have. Private investigators. Security contractors who don't have to follow FBI protocols. Let me help." "This is my fight." "No, it's our fight. Someone threatened Connor. That makes it personal for me too." Jake wanted to argue, but the exhaustion was crushing him. He'd been fighting alone for so long, he'd forgotten what it felt like to have backup. Real backup. Not just professional allies, but someone who actually gave a damn. "Okay," he said. "What do you want to do?" "First, I'm upgrading your security. Cameras, motion sensors, panic buttons in every room. Second, I'm hiring private security for Connor. Ex-Secret Service. The best. They'll shadow him everywhere without being obvious." "That's expensive." "I'm a billionaire, Jake. Expensive is irrelevant. Your son's safety isn't." Catherine pulled out her phone, started making calls. "And third, we're going to find out who's paying Marcus's legal team, because whoever wants him out is the person behind that photo." "Sarah's already investigating that." "Sarah has rules. I don't. I can ask questions she can't ask. Pay for information she can't buy. We approach this from 2 angles, and we find answers twice as fast." One of the FBI agents approached. "Mr. Morrison, we need you to go through your contacts. Anyone who might have a grudge. Anyone from your Titan Solutions days who's still active." Jake spent the next hour making a list. Names he'd tried to forget. Faces that haunted his dreams. Men who'd been on missions with him. Men who'd lost friends when Titan Solutions collapsed. Men who blamed Jake for their lost income, their ruined reputations, their prison sentences. The list was longer than he wanted it to be. Connor woke up at 7. Came downstairs rubbing sleep from his eyes. Stopped when he saw the FBI agents. "Dad, what's happening?" Jake had prepared for this. Had spent the last 3 hours figuring out how to explain without terrifying his son. "Just some extra security. Nothing to worry about." "Why do we need extra security?" "Because I have an important job now. And sometimes people who have important jobs need extra protection. It's boring grown-up stuff." Connor looked at the agents, then back at Jake. "Is the bad man coming back?" The question hit like a punch. Connor was 9. He remembered Marcus, remembered being taken to Catherine's estate, remembered being scared. "No," Jake said firmly. "Marcus is in prison. He's not coming back. But we're being extra careful just in case." "Okay." Connor nodded slowly. "Okay. Can I still go to school?" "Yeah, buddy. School's fine. But there's going to be some new people around. Security people. They're going to make sure you're safe. You might not see them, but they're there. Like bodyguards. Exactly like bodyguards." That's kinda cool. Jake managed a smile. Yeah, kinda cool. Catherine drove Connor to school that morning. Jake wanted to go, but Sarah needed him at the field office to review surveillance footage. He watched through the window as Connor climbed into Catherine's car, Buster barking goodbye from the yard. Everything looking normal, except for the two FBI agents in an unmarked sedan following at a discreet distance. At the field office, Sarah had 6 monitors set up showing different angles of the soccer field. They watched hours of footage. Parents, kids, coaches, nobody suspicious. Nobody who shouldn't have been there. Whoever took that photo was good, Sarah said. They knew where the cameras were, stayed in blind spots. Professional. Which narrows it down. Not some random threat. Someone with training, someone who knows how to conduct surveillance. Former Titan Solutions. That's my guess. We're cross-referencing the list you gave us with known locations, seeing who's in California, who has the skills and motivation to do this. Jake's phone rang. Catherine. Everything okay? He answered immediately. Connor's fine. He's in class. But Jake, I need you to come to my office. Now. I found something. What? Not over the phone. Just come. Jake looked at Sarah. She nodded. Go. We'll keep working the surveillance. Call if you need anything. Catherine's office was downtown, 40th floor. Views that probably cost more per month than Jake's entire house. She was waiting when he arrived, a folder open on her desk. I had my investigators dig into Marcus's legal team, she said without preamble. The firm representing him is Blackstone and Associates. Top tier. Expensive. Their retainer alone is $500,000. Where's the money coming from? That's what took time to find. The payments are routed through 3 shell companies. But I traced them back to the source. Catherine turned her monitor so Jake could see. Bank records, wire transfers, a name at the top that made his blood freeze. Victor Reeves. Marcus's brother, Jake said. Half-brother, different mothers. Victor's older by 15 years. Made his money in defense contracts. Legitimate on paper but with ties to every mercenary outfit in the hemisphere. He's the one funding Marcus's appeal. And based on his financial records, he's been moving money around for the past 3 months. Large sums. Going to accounts I can't trace yet. Hiring people. That's my assumption. Contractors. Surveillance specialists. Maybe worse. Jake sat down hard. Does Sarah know? I sent her everything an hour ago. She's getting warrants as we speak. But Jake, warrants take time, and Victor's smart. By the time the FBI gets access to his accounts, the money trail will be cold. What are you suggesting? Catherine's expression hardened. I'm suggesting we don't wait for warrants. I have contacts. People who can ask Victor questions in ways the FBI can't. You're talking about breaking the law. I'm talking about protecting your son. Jake thought about Connor. About that photo. About Marcus's voice echoing in his head. Nothing's over until I say it's over. What do you need from me? Permission. Because if I do this, it's going to get messy. Victor has resources. He'll fight back. And if it comes out that I hired people to intimidate him, my company takes a hit. Maybe a legal one. I can't ask you to risk that. You're not asking. I'm offering. So yes or no, Jake. Do I handle Victor my way, or do we wait for the FBI? Jake knew the right answer. The legal answer. Wait for the system. Trust the process. But the system had let Marcus file an appeal. The system couldn't stop someone from taking photos of his son. The system moved slow, while threats moved fast. Do it, Jake said. Whatever it takes. Catherine made a call. Spoken code to someone named Marcus. Not Marcus Reeves. Different Marcus. She gave instructions. Jake couldn't quite follow, then hung up. It's done. My people will make contact with Victor tonight. Apply pressure. See what he knows about the photo, about who he's hired, about what his endgame is. And if he doesn't cooperate, then they apply more pressure. Don't ask for details, Jake. You don't want to know. Jake didn't argue. Because she was right. He didn't want to know. He just wanted his son safe. He picked Connor up from school that afternoon. The FBI detail followed them home. Catherine's private security was already there, installing new cameras, upgrading the alarm system. Connor thought it was exciting. Jake thought it felt like living in a fortress. They had dinner. Pasta. Connor's favorite. Buster begged under the table. Everything normal except for the armed men outside, and the fear curled in Jake's stomach like a snake. "Dad," Connor said between bites, "are you scared?" Jake considered lying, decided against it. "A little bit, but scared doesn't mean we're not safe. It just means I'm being careful. Mom used to say being careful was good. Your mom was smart. Do you miss her?" The question came out of nowhere, punched through Jake's defenses. "Every day." "Me too." Connor pushed pasta around his plate. "Do you think she'd be proud of us? Of how we're doing?" Jake's throat tightened. "Yeah, buddy. I think she'd be really proud. Even with all the bad stuff that happened. Especially because of the bad stuff. Because we got through it. Because we didn't give up." Connor nodded, seemed satisfied. Went back to eating. Jake watched him. This kid who'd lost his mother and nearly lost his father, who'd been through hell, and somehow came out still believing the world was good. If Michelle could see them now, Jake hoped she'd forgive him for all the ways he'd failed. For the secrets. For the danger. For not being enough. Catherine called at 9. "We made contact with Victor. He's not talking yet, but he's rattled. My people are good at what they do. Give them another day." Connor asked about his mother tonight. Catherine was quiet for a moment. "What did you tell him?" "That she'd be proud of us." "She would be. You're doing good, Jake. Better than you think." "Doesn't feel like it." "It never does. That's parenthood." She paused. "Get some sleep. I'll call if anything changes." Sleep didn't come. Jake lay in bed, gun on the nightstand, listening to every sound. Wind in the trees. Buster shifting in Connor's room. The FBI agents changing shifts outside. Around midnight, his phone buzzed. "Sarah. Text message. We found him. Victor Reeves arrested 1 hour ago. Conspiracy to commit witness intimidation. He's talking." Jake called immediately. "What did he say?" "He hired 2 contractors to watch your house and Connor's school, take photos, send them to you. Psychological warfare to make you scared enough to refuse to testify if Marcus's appeal succeeds." "That's it? Just photos?" "That's what he claims. Says he never authorized physical contact. Never planned to actually hurt Connor. Just wanted to scare you." "Do you believe him?" Sarah hesitated. "I believe he's minimizing, but my interrogator says he's telling the truth about the contractors. They're surveillance only. No combat background. We're picking them up now." Relief and rage warred in Jake's chest. So Connor was never in real danger. Not from Victor's people, no. But Jake, there's something else. Victor says Marcus has been communicating with someone outside the prison, someone we don't know about. Victor wouldn't give a name, but he seemed genuinely afraid. Afraid of what? Of whoever Marcus is working with. Said if he told us they'd kill him. Even in federal custody, he's terrified. Can you protect him? We're trying. But Jake, if there's another player we don't know about, someone with the reach to threaten Victor in custody, then we have a bigger problem than we thought. Jake sat on the edge of his bed, head in his hands. So this isn't over. I'm sorry. No, it's not over. The next morning, Catherine showed up with coffee and information. She'd apparently not slept either, had spent all night digging through Victor's financial records that the FBI had seized. There's a payment, she said, spreading papers on Jake's kitchen table. $2 million. Went out 3 days ago to an account in the Caymans. I can't trace where it went from there, but that's a lot of money for surveillance photos. Sarah said Victor was working with someone else, someone Marcus connected him with. Then that 2 million went to that someone. And that someone is the real threat. Catherine looked at Jake. We need to figure out who it is before they make their move. How? By talking to Marcus, directly. Jake stared at her. He's in a supermax. I can't just walk in and have a conversation. But I can. As a concerned citizen who funded the investigation that put him away, I have standing to request a meeting. Victim impact statement. Prison administration will allow it. And say what? Ask him nicely to tell us who's trying to kill me. No, but I can read him. See what he reacts to. Sometimes you learn more from what people don't say than what they do. Catherine pulled out her phone. I'm making the call. We'll go tomorrow. Catherine, this is insane. This is necessary, unless you have a better idea. Jake didn't, so he nodded. Okay, we go tomorrow. They drove to the prison at dawn, 3 hours north. Sarah sent 2 agents as escort, but stayed behind to keep working the investigation. The supermax was exactly what Jake expected. Concrete, razor wire, guards with rifles, the kind of place designed to break men's spirits. They went through security, metal detectors, pat-downs, multiple locked doors. Finally, they reached a small room with a table bolted to the floor, 2 chairs on one side, one on the other. A guard brought Marcus in. He looked thinner, paler. Prison was aging him, but his eyes were the same, cold, calculating. He smiled when he saw Jake. Well, well, Jake Morrison. Come to gloat. We're here to talk, Catherine said before Jake could respond. Marcus's attention shifted to her. Catherine Sterling, the woman whose life Jake saved. How's drowning treating you nightmares? No nightmares, just gratitude for the man who pulled me out while you rot in here. Marcus laughed. Is that what you think? That I'm rotting? I've got lawyers. Appeals, time. I'm patient, Catherine. Can you say the same? Who are you working with? Jake cut in. Who did Victor pay $2 million to? Ah, so you found Victor. Good for you. Did he tell you everything, or did he hold back the good parts? Tell us who it is. Why would I do that? What's in it for me? Reduced sentence, Catherine said. Cooperation with federal investigators. Better conditions. Protection from whoever you're afraid of. Marcus leaned back, chains rattling. I'm not afraid of anyone. Your brother is. He wouldn't give up a name. Said they'd kill him. So who is it, Marcus? Who's pulling your strings? Something flickered across Marcus's face. Fear. Just for a second. Then it was gone. You really want to know? Yes. Then go home. Wait for them to show up. You'll meet them soon enough. That's not good enough, Jake said. It'll have to be. Because I'm not giving you a name. I'm not giving the FBI a name. I'm taking this to trial and I'm walking free. And when I do, Jake, I'm coming for Connor. Not to kill him. Just to make you watch while I take everything you love. The way you took everything from me. Jake launched across the table before he could stop himself. Got his hands on Marcus's collar, slammed him back in the chair. Guards were on him in seconds, pulling him off, shouting. Marcus laughed the whole time. See, still the same Jake, still led by emotion. That's why you'll lose. They dragged Jake out. Catherine followed, arguing with the warden about assault charges, about extenuating circumstances, about Marcus's provocation. Somehow she talked them down to just ejecting them from the facility. In the parking lot, Jake leaned against Catherine's car, shaking with rage and adrenaline. I shouldn't have done that. Probably not, but I understand why you did. Catherine unlocked the car. Get in. Let's go home. They drove in silence for 30 minutes before Jake spoke. He's not going to tell us anything. Whatever Victor paid for, it's still coming. Then we prepare. We increase security. We keep Connor close. We wait for them to make a move and we respond with overwhelming force. That's not a plan. That's hoping we're faster than they are. You have a better idea. Jake thought about that, thought about Titan Solutions, about how they operated, about the fact that the best defense was always offense. Yeah, I do. We find them first. How? Victor paid $2 million 3 days ago. Money like that doesn't just disappear. It goes somewhere, buys something. If we can figure out what Victor was buying, we can figure out where it is. The FBI tried tracing it, lost the trail in the Caymans. The FBI has rules. We don't. You said you have contacts, people who can ask questions. Use them. Find where that money went. Find what it bought. We follow the money and we find the threat before the threat finds us. Catherine was quiet, then nodded. Okay, I'll make calls. But Jake, if we do this, we're crossing lines. We might find things we can't take to the FBI. Evidence we obtained illegally. Are you prepared for that? I'm prepared to do whatever it takes to keep Connor safe. Then I'm with you. They spent the next 48 hours coordinating. Catherine's investigators worked angles the FBI couldn't touch. Bribed bankers. Hacked accounts. Called in favors from intelligence contacts in 3 countries. Sarah ran parallel investigations, sharing information when she could, looking the other way when she couldn't. Jake stayed home with Connor, helped with homework, played with Buster. Watched his son laugh and live and be 9 years old, all while knowing somewhere out there someone was planning to take it all away. On the 3rd day, Catherine called. We found it. Found what? The money went to a weapons dealer in Mexico City, but not for weapons, for information. Specifically your location, your routine, Connor's school schedule, everything someone would need to plan an operation. Who bought it? We don't have a name yet, but we have security footage from the dealer's warehouse. Sending it to you now. Jake's phone buzzed. He opened the video, watched a figure enter the warehouse. Male, 6 feet, muscular, moving with military precision. The camera angle was bad, but when the man turned slightly, Jake's world stopped. He knew that face. Derek Sullivan. Former Titan Solutions. Jake's partner for 3 years. The closest thing he'd had to a friend in that life. Jake had thought Derek died in Syria. Everyone thought Derek died in Syria. But there he was alive buying intelligence on Jake's family. Jake called Catherine back. It's Derek Sullivan, former operator. I thought he was dead. Well, he's not. And according to my investigators, he's been very much alive and working as a contractor for various PMCs since Titan Solutions collapsed. Jake, this man has your address, your son's schedule, everything. If he's coming, it'll be soon. Where is he now? We don't know. He left Mexico City 2 days ago. Could be anywhere. Jake stood up, looked out the window at Connor playing with Buster in the yard. FBI agents watching from an unmarked car. Catherine's security team positioned at strategic points. All of it useless if Derek got inside their perimeter. I need to call Sarah, Jake said. Already did. She's issuing an alert. They'll have Derek's face at every airport border crossing train station. If he's in the country, they'll find him. And if he's already here... Catherine didn't answer, because they both knew the truth. If Derek was already here, if he was inside their defenses, then all the security in the world wouldn't matter. Derek was trained by the same people who trained Jake. He knew how to get close, how to wait, how to strike when you least expected it. Bring Connor inside, Catherine said finally. Right now. Don't let him out of your sight until we locate Derek. Jake was already moving. He opened the door, called Connor. Hey buddy, come inside for a minute. But we're playing... I know, just come inside. Bring Buster. Connor must have heard something in Jake's voice because he didn't argue. Just grabbed Buster's collar and ran toward the house. Jake pulled him inside, locked the door, closed the blinds. What's wrong? Connor asked. Nothing. Just being careful. How about we play video games for a bit? It's the middle of the day. Special exception. Come on. They went to the living room. Jake positioned himself where he could see both doors, kept his phone close. Connor settled onto the couch with his controller already absorbed in his game. Buster lay at his feet. Everything normal except for the fear coiled in Jake's chest like a living thing. His phone rang. Sarah. We found Derek Sullivan, or rather he found us. What does that mean? It means he just walked into the Seattle field office and asked to speak with you. Says he has information about Marcus's plan. Says he'll only talk to you, face to face, today. Jake's mind raced. It's a trap. Maybe. Or maybe he really wants to help. Jake, we have him in custody. He came in unarmed, surrendered peacefully. Whatever he wants to tell you, he's not stupid enough to try something here. Derek's never been stupid. That's what makes him dangerous. So what do you want to do? Turn down the one person who might actually know what Marcus is planning. Jake looked at Connor, thought about the photo, the threats, the $2 million. I'll come. But I want him in an interrogation room, cuffed, behind glass. I'm not taking chances. Done. How fast can you get here? 2 hours. Catherine will stay with Connor. Be careful, Jake. Whatever Derek wants, it cost him $2 million to find you. People don't spend that kind of money without a damn good reason. Jake hung up, called Catherine, explained the situation. She arrived within 20 minutes bringing her entire security team. I don't like this, she said. Derek showing up now asking for you specifically. It feels wrong. I know, but we need to know what Marcus is planning. If Derek has answers, I have to hear them. Then take my security with you. Let them shadow you to Seattle. Sarah won't allow armed civilians in the field office. Then they'll wait outside, ready to respond if something goes wrong. Catherine grabbed his arm. Jake, promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you won't trust Derek just because you used to know him. I don't trust anyone except you and Sarah, Derek included. Good. Keep it that way. Jake drove to Seattle alone. Catherine's security team following 3 cars back. His mind went through scenarios. What Derek could want. What Marcus's endgame was. Why a man thought to be dead would suddenly surface asking to speak with his former partner. None of it made sense. Which meant Jake was missing something. Something important. He reached the field office at 3. Sarah met him in the lobby, led him through security to the observation room. Through one-way glass, Jake could see Derek sitting at a metal table, hands cuffed to a bolt in the surface. He looked older, harder, but it was definitely him. He's been here for 2 hours, Sarah said. Won't talk to anyone but you, won't say what he wants, just keeps asking when you'll arrive. Any weapons? Clean. No weapons, no phone, no nothing. Whatever he came here to say, he came to say it, and nothing else. Jake stared at Derek through the glass. Let me talk to him. You sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Sarah nodded. I'll be right here. Anything feels wrong, anything at all, you walk out. Understood. Understood. Jake entered the interrogation room. Derek looked up, smiled. That same easy smile Jake remembered from a dozen missions. The smile that said everything would be fine. Trust me, I've got your back. Jake, it's good to see you, brother. Don't call me that. We're not brothers. You died in Syria. Remember? Yeah, about that. Derek's smile faded. I need to explain some things, and I don't have much time. Why not? You're in federal custody. You've got all the time in the world. Because Marcus's plan goes into effect tonight. And if I don't tell you what's happening, Connor dies. So sit down, shut up, and listen. Jake sat. Every instinct screaming this was a trap. But he sat anyway. Because Derek was right. If Connor was in danger, Jake needed to know. Even if it meant walking into whatever hell Derek had waiting. Talk, Jake said. And Derek told him everything.